back many years, haven't we, where I've called Felicity on a number of occasions for her help, and in cases that I've done where it's been very hard to get anybody to come to the aid of defence, to provide very professional, expert opinions and so forth. So we've gone through a lot, haven't we? And I think, Felicity, you have done so well sort of in this book. There's no question that lawyers and people, we all talk or we make comment. For most of us, we sit around a table, we sit in a cafe, we may sit at work and we say, wouldn't it be terrible? How could you cope with being falsely accused of anything? And we all know how terrible we feel when we hear gossip about us. And it's not true, unless of course it's more exciting than the truth. We're quite happy then. But we just can't even begin to imagine how it would feel to be falsely accused of a crime, and then upwards a terrible crime, when you know that you are not guilty. And you have to place yourself in the hands of the system, the team and other people, because the person who's accused really has very little control over what's going to happen. And it's very frightening indeed. And most defence counsel and sometimes people who have been involved in cases, we've experienced what we call tunnel vision. We have cases whereby an investigation from the outset decides this is the truth, and the focus is then on how to get evidence to fit that initial theory, and it's blinkered. We all have it. I've got a name, mine is a 16-year-old boy who immediately the police said he killed the 15-year-old, and that's all it was all about. 5 weeks later, by a fluke, 3 adult men confess to that. Nothing to do with my client. And still the senior police officer was saying, well, he must have been involved somehow. So for defence lawyers and people in the system and those tough times when you're tired, it's black outside, it's cold, you've been slapped around by the judges, by the community, you know, who say, how can you take on these cases? His name are the 2 words I say, and they keep me going. And the name George Gwaze is going to be another name that has to be added to that vocabulary, and it has to keep us going in those tough times. Because when you're accused and when you're the defence counsel, you are on the back foot. You are the ones who have to start back here and clamour all the way through, because it's so easy to make the accusation, and you are the one who in effect proves your innocence. And the community needs reminding, because they are people who are the jury, potential jury. They are the people who have to fight or not oppose funding so somebody gets the fair trial. And every resource, every possible effort has to make sure you have a fair trial and the evidence proves guilt. And it is books such as Felicity's that will remind everybody of just how wrong it can possibly go, and how no expense, nothing should be spared to give somebody the right to a fair trial. And these unsubstantiated, sensational accusations that are fed by a media at the moment that are out of control. And I think, George, you probably do with your family now, you are conscious. Before somebody even appears in court, like what happened to you, your name is out there, the story is out there, the background is out there. There was a time when media did not comment about cases. They could comment about evidence that was put forward, but you just start looking. And that's what the media builds up, and of course they taint the jury pool. And then pressure goes on, because as is pointed out in the book, your family and here you are, the pressure goes on You must know what's happened. Tell us the truth. It'll all be better for you. It happened. It was relentless in the Kahui case, and your family experienced that as well, that you know it happened. You know the guilt is there. What a terrible thing to happen to a family with techniques that will never be believed in court, because policemen who do it are not going to admit to it, and your family went through that. And Felicity's book teaches everyone we've just got to keep fighting. It is extremely thorough. It is, when I read it, I kept thinking, how did this even get started? The mindset, there was just absolutely no consideration given to the relevance of HIV. And you say, how could that possibly be? Why were the Crown not interested? Why were the police not interested in getting experts? There's no shame in us saying here in New Zealand we don't have the experts. How could they have closed their mind to that? And the fight to get the experts. So when you see about the cuts in legal aid and funding, they're real, and indeed, you know, the fight was on to get the experts. So George was blessed. You had a great defence team. I'm a great admirer of Jonathan as well. And Felicity from the outset, I've worked with you, so I know how you just never let it go. You're so thorough, you're very, very bright, you know this stuff, you know how to find people. But without you, who knows, George? Who knows where this would have ended up? And this book is the total reminder. I just can't believe how you got to trial. We had 2 juries who clearly did not even believe in the murder. 2 jurors from the first trial said, hey, don't even go there. We didn't decide the case on that last minute evidence. In effect, they pleaded, don't go there. Fortunately, the 2 juries said there has been no murder, and indeed, Felicity's book clearly demonstrates there wasn't. And so I'm pleased you're here with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you.